Listen, I don't know how you feel. You're in your early to mid 20s and you feel like life is coming at you fast. Too fast. As young as you are, you feel like you're running out of time, and if you don't come up with something soon, it'll be too late. You'll be stuck doing something you don't enjoy for the rest of your life. The problem is you feel lost. You're not sure which direction you should head in or what your first step should be. And the reason you feel this way is because you have no goals. Aside from giving us something to strive for, goals also help to point us in the right direction. When you have a goal, even if you don't know how you're going to achieve it, you know the general direction that you need to start heading in. And as you walk in that direction, the path starts to become more clear. Goals are the reason why we like video games so much, because there are clear directives. You know what the end goal is. We have a specific goal that we want to achieve, and we know what we need to do to get there. So that's why when we pick up a new game, it's so hard to put it back down, because we need to beat the game. We need to achieve the goal. We'll play for hours, we'll forget to eat, we'll forget to drink water. We enter that flow state. So how come we don't approach life in the same way? Well, we can. We just need something to strive for. We need goals. Now, when deciding on a goal, you don't need to start off right away by picking, your ultimate goal in life, something that you're going to be remembered for generations. All you have to do is pick something that you're interested in achieving today, right now, and then just create a goal around that. When creating this goal, it's important to make sure that it's achievable, realistic, and that you have a way to measure it. And in order to do this, I'm a big fan of the SMART goal setting method. If you're not familiar with this, SMART is actually an acronym. It stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. For example, let's say I wanted to get in shape, but getting in shape is a very vague goal, right? So what I'm going to specifically do is lose weight. That's the specific of it. And the measurable part, in order to quantify it, then let's say that I want to lose 10 pounds, right? And the next two, achievable and relevant, they're questions that you got to ask yourself during the goal setting process to make sure that A, it's realistic, and two, that it makes sense for your overall goal of getting in shape. But the most important one is actually T, which is time bound, because that's what puts you in the constraints of when you're going to achieve that goal by. So say I want to lose 10 pounds in the next 4 weeks, in a month, 2 pounds per month. I think that's pretty doable. But what's interesting about that time bound part is that there's this thing called Parkinson's law, right? Which essentially states that work will expand to fill the time allotted for it, because there's always more work to do. And so if you give yourself, a year to lose 10 pounds, then it's going to take you a year to lose 10 pounds. But if you give yourself 4 weeks, then you're going to have to do what it takes to lose that weight in 4 weeks. So that's the SMART goal setting method. It's nothing new. It's something you probably learned about in school, but it's really useful. But the problem with it is that it requires you to already have some idea of a specific thing that you want to achieve, in your mind. And if we go back to video games, while video games make everything very obvious, things in life usually aren't so clear cut. But that's where anti-visions come in. Anti-visions are basically the exact opposite of a goal, and you can even think of them as anti-goals. So if you don't know what you want out of life, then chances are you probably do know what you don't want. So to create an anti-vision, it's actually very simple. All you have to do is envision your worst case scenario in the next 3 to 5 years. Where would you hate to be a few years from now? Now, this may be different for everybody. For you, it may be to still be at the same job you're at right now. For somebody else, it may be to, not finish college. I don't know. But figure out where you would hate to be in the next few years. And once you figure that out, all you need to do is run as fast as possible in the opposite direction.
This is the part where you run away.
Now, to keep the theme consistent with all these games I've been talking about, the funny thing is there are actually games that are designed like this as well. There's no specific goal in mind, but there are anti-goals. I don't know how old you are watching this video right now, but several years ago, something like in 2016, there was this really popular game called Flappy Bird. Anyone in my age group, like 18 to 24, just had a huge nostalgia kick. Anyway, Flappy Bird was this mobile game where all you had to do was tap on the screen and make a little bird jump, and you had to jump in between some pipes, and your goal was to try and not die. That's it. So another way to say that is that there was an anti-goal of dying. What's crazy is that, a game that simple with an anti-goal of dying took over the world to the point where the developer had to remove it from the App Store because there were these issues with kids being on it for too long at school. There was these addictions going on, and people were selling their phones for thousands of dollars. It was a wild time. And the reason I'm telling you this is simply to show you that anti-goals, anti-visions work. But what if none of this applies to you? What if you're just completely and utterly lost? You're not necessarily opposed to any future outcome, but you still want life to be meaningful, and you're just not sure what that looks like. Well, that's where exploration comes in. Now, I've been using video games to sort of mirror life throughout this video. So to continue that same theme, let me explain the concept of exploration like this. So recently I've been playing Elden Ring, which is a game very different from anything I've ever played. I've never really played a Souls game before. But what's interesting about it is that there's really no tutorial. In the beginning you're kind of taught how to hit, how to dodge, but that's basically it. There's 2,000 other mechanics in the game and it doesn't show you how to do any of that. There are also no blatantly obvious goals, only kind of vague ones that you don't really understand until you've been playing the game for a while. But basically you start the game and you have 2 objectives: explore and don't die. And as you explore the vast open world, you slowly start to understand how the game and the world works. It doesn't really matter which way you go in. If you explore long enough, you will start to understand the game. It'll start to make sense. You get information on what the ultimate goal is, where you need to go, what you need to do to get there, but you have to explore. And the more I think about it, I start to realize that that is a beautiful representation of life. In life, I think a lot of us have two major goals. Do something meaningful, aka find purpose, and don't die. At least for as long as possible, because we're all headed in that direction anyway. For the first major portion of our life, something from like the ages of 5 or 6 to about 18, we're taught the basics. Reading, writing, math, history, much of which is wrong, by the way, but that's a topic for a different time. And aside from those very basic things, after that, we're essentially just left to figure it out on our own. And much like in Elden Ring, the key to figuring it out is exploration. As people, and especially as young people, we have to try different things. We have to experiment, we have to travel, all in an effort to find the one meaningful thing that we want to dedicate our lives to find our goals. And if we find something that interests us, we should chase after it at full speed. Following your interests is key. And no, there is no need to walk the perfect path right from the beginning. As long as we're headed in the right general direction, you'll eventually find the path that you're supposed to be on. The poet Rumi said, as you start to walk on the way appears. So if you're lost, what are you waiting for? Figure out what you want and create a goal around it. If you can't do that, then figure out what you don't want and create an anti-vision. And if neither of those things are working, just start exploring. I promise you that your way will appear. And with that, thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.